No, I'm still not convinced that their offensive line is right, like where it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly I would take the Packers offensive line 10 times out of 10 at maybe every position but right tackle now with them bringing in the young stud from Tennessee, one of our favorite guys in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're just going to be a good team. Soldier Field's always a tough place to play. It's the right environment. It's a city that's desperate for somebody to come out and win.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't really argue with the placeholder. I guess when we look at it, I just start looking at, okay, position by position, like what has to happen for guys to get better. And let's start with maybe the one that we've talked about the most over the last 2 years. AG, what could be the plan in the safety room right now? I mean, Rudy Ford had a good season last year. He had 3 interceptions, had about a couple pass breakups. He's an absolute stud in the run game.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got a long ways to go in order to be a kind of a top tier, even at the Adrian Amos level, I think. And then we're looking at a guy at Darnell Savage who got benched, and now they've just put him back in. Now, listen, I've got benched and they put me back in, so I'm not saying that this doesn't happen.
Correct.
Okay, but
Correct.
what I'm saying is you usually have to, unless you've seen something different, unless something fundamentally changed in that equation, you at least have to go, man, I should be bringing in some maybe top tier guys, free agents, top tier guys, draft picks, and they were kind of pushing at the end of the draft, unrestricted free agents to bring in some new meat there. So, what do you think the plan is?
I think the plan is knowing that Darnell Savage is a first round draft pick. They're trying to give him that benefit or just give him that extra cushion of trying to prove himself, of understanding what he needs to know at this defense. But obviously for us and for me, it's like what, third, fourth year?
Fourth.
I know it was 3 years for me at running back. It was clicking. When I got here, everything just clicked. I was like, I'm helping Dorsey out in terms of verbiage, in terms of what to look out on certain plays, pass or run plays. And so if by year 3 is not clicking, then they just looking at, okay, we already put big money on him because he's a first round draft pick. So we got to at least give him this one more year. And I would say you got to speak up. If you're the GM, if he has to have a talk, Gutekunst's got to have a talk with him, or one of the scouts got to pull him to the side and say, hey, this is it. There is no more time left.
Mm-hmm.
We need you here. We need you to step up. The ability that we saw on film when you're at Maryland to bring you, at that, to draft you at that high number, we want to start seeing that now. Because I remember I didn't talk a whole lot to guys, but scouts would just come up to me and be like, AG, we don't know if you're about to turn it on, but turn it on now. They'll just say it out of the blue to me, coming here. One of my first, what's his name? Sammy Seal, our scout.
Sammy Seal.
He will always grab me and AG. He said, hey, keep doing what you're doing. Yep. He said, if you don't do it, I'm on you. I'm going to tell you because I know you got the ability to do certain things that other running backs can't do. I would see him in the cafeteria every other day during training camp, and he would say those type of things. So hopefully somebody's just letting him know, because that's urgency that they got to have. Players got to have, and we understand what that means, what urgency means. When you hear that.
No doubt. And I was going to say, no doubt, AG. And one thing that for fans out there, especially back in like the Holmgren days and the Mike Sherman days, there was just two factions of adults in the room when you were talking about the people that are interfacing with players. And I always remember John Schneider being one of these guys. John Dorsey was a hard ass, but he's a guy that
he was with me in Seattle.
Yeah, biggest hearted, best guys in the world. And these guys would pump you up. It was like their job. They wanted you. They were a large reason you were in the building, and they wanted you to succeed. And man, they would come in and pump you up. I mean, I remember good days, bad days, good years, bad years. They would come in and sometimes it was tough love. Sometimes it was like, man, you are killing it right now. They would always just make you feel like you were 10 feet tall. And then the reality was you'd have to go back. And the coaches, it was kind of their responsibility. But like, hey, man, we're having honest and truth talk right now as much as we're able to. And we're going to tell you what you need to do to get better. But you had this group in the building. And I think that's so important. It might be a really important thing for a guy like Savage right now, who's had a kind of an up and down career until now. Is like, dude, do you have that guy that you're talking about? It's always just in your ear, man. You can do this. You're the man. Like positive affirmation guy. Do you have positive reinforcement, positive affirmation guy? Because the more guys you have, and I'm not talking about guys that are BSing you. We're true. We got to be truth tellers. We're like, man,
these are truth tellers.
You speak some stuff into existence in this world, and I certainly think that can happen with a guy like Savage. Now moving over to another position, because we got a lot of questions coming in. And I'm just, aside from Jordan Love, let's just put this on the side
Yeah, we already know that's the
Is he
question.
going to play well or not? We'll have to see. All right.
Yeah,
but
we know that.
There's a huge talent versus experience. I still got you, bud.
Yeah, I'm here.
There's a huge talent versus experience as mine comes back in at the skill positions on offense. And this is like when you talk about the Jordan Love thing, it's also, well, it's the Watson, it's the Reed, it's the Dobb, it's the Musgrave, it's the Tucker. Like you got in the tight end room, the wide receiver room, you've got tons of untapped talent or unrealized potential as such far, but there's not a lot of experience. And everyone's talking about the tight end position in particular. Like a lot of those guys don't have a lot of success. And I go, my pushback is like, well, we had Bubba Franks. He was a Pro Bowler the first year, right? And then I remember University of Miami Part 2, Jeremy Shockey, when he was with the Giants, dude, he's an absolute unit the first year, right? So I don't think it's an impossible task. I think what you're asking really is, do these guys have the physical wherewithal and the tool set to be able to stay in there, play in and play out, and be a 3 or 4 down tight end? You know, these receivers just kind of feel like the second year for receivers are going to have, I think Watson, Dobb, they're going to be good. I think Jalen Reed's just going to walk in. And honestly, I think Jalen Reed's going to walk in and be good. I think he had a down year last year because they had no quarterback. 2 years ago, he was an All-American. I think he's going to be a good player in year one. But these tight ends, from a physical standpoint, is there any reason to think that they can't hold up?
No, there's no reason they can't hold. Luke, Musgrave, Tucker, Kraft, and then we already know Josiah, what he can do. And he's been inserted into the run game a little bit, you know, helping out with blocking. That's a whole new world.
And I think they've been using him as fullback a lot too, AG, in preseason here.
Yeah, exactly. So just him continuing to learn that side of it too. And he's the only veteran in the room. I mean, Tyler, he had a little bit. I think he played the most last year because he was drafted the year before that. So I think it was the same year as Josiah, and he didn't play that much, mostly special teams. But now he got more time last season. So that's where Josiah is the veteran in the room. But from ability-wise, from the film and from the time they drafted him, Luke, Tucker, they got those tight end bodies, minds, and I see, like I said this before we took our little break, that 49er scheme of tight ends, they have that ability here. And you just see how LaFleur and how the OC is going to put them together to get them in flux into, or I say inserted to the offense, how they're, you know, teaching them, how they're coaching them, how they installing offense, and how they, not only the plays, but also this is tight end coaches saying, hey, this is your mindset coming into this play. This is the play we want. This is what we want out of you on this play. When this play, then the next play goes up on the screen, this is what we want out of you on this play. You know, if it's running, if it's blocking, if it's running a route, whatever. So then those players, it makes it easier for them because you're pinpointing exactly what they need to do and where they don't have to think, because a lot of rookies are going to do that anyway. You're going to naturally think a whole lot about everything that's coming down your lane. You're taking notes. You're looking at the screen. You're listening to your coaches. You're listening to a vet talking to you or whatever. And you got a lot of process that rookie season of training camp. So give them less to learn so they could get into a comfort zone right away. And these guys, if they get comfortable real fast during training camp, I'm excited. I would love to have guys like these guys.
They have talent, and you're just I echo the same thing, man. I think at the tight end position, it's mindset over everything else. But Bubba Franks, Jeremy Shockey from the University of Miami, mindset, right? Dallas Clark, George Kittle, right? University of Iowa, mindset. It's just it's the way you approach the game. And if you're going to come in and approach the game with that physical mindset, hey, if Luke Musgrave and Tucker did nothing else but just said, I'm going to be the most physical dudes on every snap, whether it's true or not, but if they're going to play with that mindset, they're going to – I'm just telling everybody out there, they will excel in the National Football League. Because for their position right now, that is what is severely lacking in that room across the entire National Football League, except for maybe three buildings in the entire country.
Yep.
So if you can come in and just have that mindset, I'm going to be the most physical guy on the field. When I catch a ball, I'm running violent. When I'm blocking, I'm bringing my hips. I'm having my feet chase my hips. I'm shooting my hands violently. If I have that mindset and I just keep working my craft, like you can impact this game very, very early on, man. So I'm excited, just like you are, to see those guys. Let's look to the other side of the field and talk about Quay, talk about Devondre Wyatt. Yes. What do you think the next step is? Start with Quay Walker, first-round pick last year. Yes. Played a ton, got a ton of experience when Javonte Campbell's out being the number one guy at the linebacker position. Had some growing pains, let's just say, at the end of the season. In particular, like What do you think the next step is with him, AG? And then, what is that one or two things that are really going to separate him this year from last?
Having his ability now match up with his tempo, because sometimes his tempo was either too fast, where he's overshooting the gap, overshooting the play, or too slow because he's reacting late. He's sitting back 5 yards trying to figure it out when he should have been in the hole, stopping a run or whatever. So now that talent and that tempo matches up. That's year 2 for him, and for most players, they don't have where it's a year 2. They usually use it's year 3 because it was a year of special teams and then back and forth, maybe year 2, and then not a whole lot in year 3. And then finally at the year
not reps wise like him, at least, right?
Exactly. So he had all them reps rookie year and big games, even going out, starting with the game over against the Giants over in London, big game, a lot of mistakes made, but then gradually every game you saw some good stuff, we saw some bad stuff, but taking the mistakes and making them positives more, and then having less negatives coming into this season.
Yeah, to say it a different way, a lot of guys will say to me now, and we've talked about this before, the real physical presence that you feel from different players is a result of obviously confidence and want to, but also a result of conditioning. And I think what we're really saying with those guys is the game always feels slow because I never feel like I'm needing to catch my breath. I'm always in kind of like a parasympathetic, a little bit more relaxed state.
Yeah.
And what Quay needs to be able to do is he needs to be able to slow the game down. And he's certainly had the reps to slow the game down. He certainly has a good mentor in Devondre Campbell. And it's just a question of, do I want to become that kind of physical? Do I want to be an Isaiah McDuffie in the run game and then use all the physical advantages in the pass game? Because we have guys on this team. We had Chris Barnes and Isaiah McDuffie, the guys that we sung their praises week in and week out because of the physical presence they have when they're on the field. Can I be that kind of guy? Is the game slowed down enough where I can hit the hole and hit the hole with confidence? Or do I have to still, make those tackles 6-8 yards down the field? And then can I just use what, the skills, the tool set, the talent that I've had and I've developed over the last 10 years of my life? Can I use that now and really stand out kind of in the passing game? Because I think like for us, we're going to look at the run game first. We're going to look at the box game. We're going to look at your ability to stop the run. But for the rest of the world, it's like, can you cover the tight end in the slot? Right. And that's a huge part of it. So I'm 100% with you, bro. What about Devontae Wyatt? Looking at who we lost in the defensive line, looking at the pickups that we have, the situation that there is, the defense that they've ran traditionally here, even though they start in the 3-4, listen, we're going to see a ton of nickel. Who is going to be that other guy aside from our man Kenny Clark that is going to command attention and respect so they can't consistently double team Rashawn or always slide to Rashawn and Clark? Like, who's going to be that guy? Is it Devontae Wyatt? And if so, AG, what does Devontae Wyatt have to do to really take a next step?
I say what he has to do is he has to get his like I just mentioned with Quay Walker. He got to get in his comfort zone. He got to find the part wherever got him to Georgia, got him to be a starter and a leader and a focal point of that Georgia Bulldog defense. That's what he has to get. And that's what you have to do as a player. We talk about it all the time. Mindsets, how to come in ready to go. What you did in the offseason is preparing you. It's all of that. So it could be that for him, but he has to put his mindset there first, and then the physical comes second. He has to visualize that and put that into, taking notes diligently and stuff like that, and make himself understand the confidence, but not the overconfident side of, where he's come from. Because everybody's going to assume he came from a national title team, playing from Georgia. They're a good team now in college football. They're going to just assume that he has
monster D linemen all over the place.
Exactly. Right? But it's a quiet, I say for me, I love it because that's how I came in. It was a quiet confidence about yourself where I knew my stuff and I let my action in practice show to impress you guys in terms of to let you guys from what I know I was doing. He has to do the same thing. He has to come in and let his teammates know from his actions and that he's ready to go. He's ready to make that step forward. And then understanding you got guys in the room to help you too. You got TJ Slayton, a veteran, somebody that he could depend on and then give feedback. And I say the big thing for all these players that we're talking is bounce stuff off your teammates. Don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid. Don't look at your teammate as an enemy or a rivalry. No, y'all are wearing the same helmets. It's a business
The
too.
competition is up to the coaching staff. It's not up to you.
Exactly. It's not up to you. So ask your teammate, hey man, why did I look on that? Did I come out my stance real good, or was it too high, or whatever? Did I read that right? No. Get that honest feedback from your teammates. And that's what I would ask you. I would ask you guys. I would ask guys in my locker, in my room, in the running back room, to say like, what could I do better, or what didn't I do right on that last play? Even the coaches I had, I would ask that question to better me every day. So that's what the mindset he has to have.
This is tangential a little bit, but obviously there's been some culture conversations going on with Georgia. There's a couple of different things that have happened over the offseason, right? Maybe the last 2 off seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And Devontae White being in a room where a lot of these guys have flourished at Georgia, and then have moved on to the first round draft picks in the National Football League. You know how right now that like the Jets are going on to Hard Knocks, and they're basically Jets are like, yeah, we're going to limit your access, man. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I think Hard Knocks is and I totally agree with it. I think Hard Knocks has run its course. But here's what's I think of a guy like, and particularly for some reason, Devontae White is one of those guys that I'm just curious about.
Yeah.
You see that new quarterbacks that show on Netflix. Now I haven't watched it, but I heard that you
I heard about it. I haven't watched it yet either.
Yeah, really good, honest inside look. And with the amount of guys that have cameras following around, and the amount of content that they can curate, and the amount of like control they can have over their process and what's put out in the world, I would love to see guys like. I would love to start watching shows on guys like Devontae White. I want to know what that dude did this offseason. I want to see him work. I want to see him train. I want to see him talk to mentors. I want to see him go and experience new opportunities to work on your stance, your set, work with new experts, right? I want to see, I want to know. That's what those are the kind of guys I want to know exactly what's going on. I want to know about the guys that are the absolute best in the world. What are they doing? Right. Yeah. I'm very fortunate to be able to work with some of those guys. So I know kind of what they're going through. And you and I have had the experiences already. But then I want to see those guys like, okay, you went through your combine stuff year 1. You did, it's a whirlwind, blah, blah, blah. Now, year 1 to year 2, what did you do this offseason? Did you get your stance lower? Right? Have you worked on your timing? Have you worked on your get off your hands? Are you working on redirection?
Yeah.
Who are you talking to? Are you going back to Georgia? Are you talking to Jordan Reed and all those other great guys that are there?
Yeah.
Who is it? Are you spending time with Kenny Clark? What are you doing to get better? There's such an opportunity there, not only for that player, but also when you talk about brand building, talking about fan engagement, like I think that's just a really unique, untapped opportunity that's going to be coming on in the next 5-10 years, man, because I'm like, for me, content-wise, I'm desperate to see what guys like Devontae White and Quay Walker do in the offseason.
No, definitely, because the ability is there. We know if they focus right, they're going to be special.
Yep.
And so to see what they do behind closed doors, us being players, we'll know right away. It won't take 1 or 2 plays. We'll be like, oh, yeah, they were working on something this offseason. That's all it's going to take. If we were on the field as coaches right now, I'm coaching running backs, you're coaching the O-line, and I see Devontae do stuff from the running back point of view, and you see, Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon do stuff you're going to be like, oh, they did some work this year. That's the first acknowledgement when other coaches, other players from the other position, your teammates acknowledge that. Be like, man, we saw you do this play when you come up with that move? I remember Nate Wayne saying to me when'd you do that? When you learn that? And I'm like, I was working with Sly. He was telling me about my footwork here, on planting and pointing my foot out to break out of the route, make me come out cleaner away from the linebacker to get more open on the one-on-one route. So stuff like that. And then I know what I'm talking about. I'm not just saying some gibberish to him. So
this is what was so great back in our day when we didn't have. I mean, honestly, this is why I was talking about like not wanting to be at OTAs, not wanting to be there the whole time, because some of that's great, but also like I was so excited to come back and show everybody how hard I've been working. My body was better. You're learning more. Like you can go learn from other people and then come back and like share that information. It's great.
It's awesome.
Last one for me, AG.
Yeah.